will admit in this episode I'm going to be covering the GOG or GOG.com version and the Steam version of this game. Um, I have heard about Epic Games. I have not gotten a prescription with Epic Games Store yet, so I will be experimenting with that
You looking to
for
buy
some of
some
the
supplies?
games that are
No.
available there
You
in the future. But the next episode I'm going to be focusing
hey,
on is installing Steam because there have been some changes with recent updates to Codeweavers Crossover, and so we're going to be working on that. But the first part we're going to be working on here is we're going to be working on how to install the GOG or GOG.com version of Fallout New Vegas. This has been asked of me by a number of my audience or subscribers, and I have decided that I am finally going to go over how to get Fallout New Vegas installed and get it running as well as can be. It's not perfect, it's a 4 out of 5 compatibility rating due to occasional lags in the game, but it's still better than what Fallout New Vegas was right at launch. Back when it launched in 2010, there were tons of odd glitches like heads twisting around and around or you walking through walls accidentally. It was it was the beginning of buggy on launch games, but thankfully after updates it was a lot more smooth in terms of how the game ran. But for the meantime, we're going to be going into how to get Fallout New Vegas running. So without much further ado, we're going to go into the GOG.com installation of the game. All right, so as we're getting started, we first are going to pick out Fallout New Vegas out of all the options. Now we're going to have to change it a little bit because we're not using the Steam version. So we're going to have to edit Steam. We're going to select the installer. In my case, I'm selecting the setup, which I got from GOG.com, that installation. So choose that installer. Now the installer stays the same. You have still is Windows 10 64-bit, and additional dependencies will be installed. The other thing we'll have to do after this is to use the Bethesda audio override, which is for Bethesda games. This is technically still a Bethesda game, even though it was developed by Obsidian. So, and we're going to go, and it's going to get started installing. Now this is the DirectX. Do that. Take care of that. And while this is installing, I'm just going to say that I also have a written guide to installing Fallout New Vegas. It's available on my blog, Radio Chaos 2. Go check it out. I have just plenty of written instructions and snapshots for the guides on how to install. So if you prefer reading a written guide and seeing snapshots for your visual aids, perfect. It's right there. And it's worth taking a look at. So we're going to take a break from the lengthy installation time, which should be about 5 to 10 minutes, depending on your computer, for Fallout New Vegas. And here we're going to the Bethesda audio right. So first you're going to go into wine configuration, as I have on the left side here, and then you're going to add the Bethesda audio override files. I also have a longer, somewhat more slower guide, but here we're going to copy and paste the audio override. So I'll have a link to the description for these audio overrides for the Bethesda games. Copy and paste them into the libraries tab in the wine configuration. And with those, it should run very well. Now we're going to go back to the installation and start playing as a little bit of a demonstration here. So we're installing it now, and I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. All right, now that you are finishing up the installation, you'll have a few more things. Do not panic. The DirectX install is part of what GOG.com does. So right here, it's gonna install DirectX 9, which is the version that you use for Fallout New Vegas. And the should be done real soon, and that will be the completion of the installation using the GOG or GOG.com version of the game for that installer. Once again, I'm going to be starting to get a subscription on Epic Game Store because that's where some of my audience have been installing their version of the game. This is the DirectX install right here. So just make sure that goes on, and that should be done. Now, the next one we're going to be doing is we're going to be going into the Steam version. Now, as a little update with the newer updates on Codeweavers Crossover, installing Steam has gotten easier, thankfully. And I will be going into how you install Steam in a new and updated way because of the new versions of Crossover, make it a lot more simple with the 64-bit dependency library. So there it is, GOG.com. It should look like this. Now on to the Steam installation. Now here is where the setup comes. So we're going to look at the setup. We're going to go into options. Okay. Set it for default, so it will determine what works best with your computer based on your system settings. Being as old of a game as it is, you're likely going to be at maximum settings on just about any MacBook now. This is a 2010 game, so it's 14 years later. It easily goes to the highest settings as default. But then again, it just depends on what your computer is. So if your computer is a slower one, it could be slower, but that's the best way to do it. Now as you're getting started, go to the menu, and I'm going to be going back to a save game because obviously as I tested this game and to figure out how this starts up. So I have a game that I'm going to continue from where I installed it. I'm using the GOG.com version. So this is back in the saloon. This is a Ghost Town gunfight quest in Fallout New Vegas. So I'm not going to talk to Sonny just yet. Nor am I going to talk to Ringo yet because I'm not quite ready to start it. Actually, I'm going to go check and see if the store where Ringo's hiding has anything left in it.
Hey there.
But otherwise, I've got most of the people in the town spoken to. But this is just a demonstration of how it starts. Now, as I said before, this is not a 5 out of 5 compatibility rating in the GOG or the Steam version. This is a 4 out of 5 in case the game lags.
You looking to buy some supplies?
You are not. It doesn't lag too frequently. It's at least 10 to 15 minutes of time before you get a lag of playing this game. So I'm probably not going to get a lag anywhere in this testing part of this game here. But yeah, it runs pretty well except for the lags. And the lagging is true with the Steam version as well. So going up to the store, well, what used to be a store before the apocalypse happened. Say hi to Johnny Ringo. Johnny Ringo. Johnny Ringo, by the way, was the gunfight at the OK Corral in Arizona. But maybe Ringo goes inspired by Johnny Ringo from that incident in Tombstone, Arizona. But yeah, they had a more recent movie called Tombstone about the gunfight between the sheriffs led by Wyatt Earp and the gang led by Johnny Ringo. And Johnny Ringo is played by Michael Biehn, who probably recognized from Aliens and The Terminator. Anyways, I'm going to say hi to Ringo. Either way, this is great. This game runs pretty well, and this is how you get the GOG.com version working. Now we're going to go on to the Steam version of this game, and that should be pretty fun as well. Steam is a pretty common way, and I said I will start getting a subscription to Epic Games and start testing their games to see how they work in a little bit. So, should get interesting. I not subscribed to Epic Games yet, but when I do, it should be an interesting experience. Now, we're getting started here with the Steam version of Fallout New Vegas. Now, before we get the Steam version running, we should have the Bethesda audio override done with Steam. So we go to the Steam bottle, select the wine configuration, look for the Libraries tab. In the Libraries tab, we copy and paste those same X audio files dependencies into the Libraries tab. It's really easy, copy and paste. I'll have the names so you can copy and paste them when you do it yourself. I also have the Steam version of the Bethesda Audio Override video as a guide over on YouTube, so you can go check that out. I'll put it in the cards in the description, so you can do the Bethesda Audio Override, which is great for Steam because when you do that audio override, it applies to every Bethesda game in your Steam library, all of them. That's the great part about Steam. Now, as we're going to go here, we're going to get started with Fallout New Vegas. So right here, just like with the GOG or GOG.com version, you let your machine figure out, okay, what are the best settings for running this game here? Being as advanced as my Mac I'm using right now is, it'll easily set your graphics to very high quality. I mean, your machine, even if it's just an older MacBook, it performs better than machines for the most part did back in 2010. That's just how it works. So, you now have an easy start with getting this going. So it starts out with the intro screen for Steam, and that is it. That is you getting the Steam version running. So you can go follow my playlist for Chaos tutorials. Link will be in the description and the cards to this video. But this is it. This is getting the Steam and GOG.com versions of Fallout New Vegas running on your computer if you are a macOS user. And like I said earlier, I started this whole Chaos tutorial series with Oni, a much older game for PS2 and PC from 2001, because I eventually figured, okay, 64 bits is becoming a barrier to running apps on macOS, and it will be eventually because nothing really runs on 32-bit anymore as time goes on. But I just wanted to say, hey, people shouldn't be alone, and I should share what I found out on how to get Windows games running on Mac or Linux. So that's why I started this playlist. In the meantime, I hope you have a wonderful time. My next episode of Chaos Tutorials will be about getting Steam installed and running in an optimal manner on Codeweavers Crossover. It should be fun. It's time to update it because with the Codeweavers Crossover updates, there are new and great ways to get this going. So I hope we'll have a wonderful day, and I'm going to say, as I always do at the end of my video, be safe out there, and I will be signing off.
Hi everyone, Kaos Nova here, and this is the ending of the video presentation on Chaos Tutorials. And here's the deal: if you want to see more of my tutorials on getting your old games to work on Mac, and you want to see more tutorials on how to do various other tasks, such as very cheap ways to make YouTube videos that still look decent, and much more, feel free to subscribe. And if you want to be among the first to get each video, hit the notifications. And please, if you enjoy liking this, your vote still counts, so please click the like with a big thumbs up. All right, you have a wonderful day,